What's up, everyone? It's Cannan, back with another video, and it's a video that I really didn't want to make, but at this point in time, the situation is getting ridiculous, and I want to start off by saying that I'm not so naive that I don't realize that there are always going to be opposing sides, whether it's sports, whether it's in music when two bands start a rivalry or two artists start a beef or anything like that. There is always going to be a mine is better than yours mindset. But when it is a form of media like video games where you don't have to pick and choose, you can literally play both, I find it kind of pointless to say a game is going to kill the other. Say that one game is going to enter end of service. Bring up sales. I don't think that is a good argument. I don't think it is. It's not helpful in any way. It doesn't help nobody. And it helps the people who say it feel good. But, not it's not just the players themselves who are guilty of this. Content creators are doing it as well by kind of creating this us versus them narrative. And of course, I'm talking about the ongoing, not feud, not rivalry, but war against Genshin Impact players and Wuthering Waves players. Now, of course, Wuthering Waves just released their 2.0 update, which introduced a lot of quality of life changes, brought the game to the PlayStation 5, new characters, new region, whole new map to explore, all that. So it was a big release for Wuthering Waves. Genshin Impact finally released the new Archon character. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but she's kind of Genshin Impact's version of Yang, and I want her. But it seems like going all the way back in May, when Wuthering Waves released, there has been this narrative of Genshin is better, Wuthering Waves is better, Wuthering Waves is going to be a Genshin Impact killer. There is this whole us versus them thing going on with these two games. Now, I get it. Wuthering Waves comes out, and it's the first really gacha game that is open world, like Genshin Impact, that has gotten a whole lot of interest. And of course, I'm guessing a lot of Genshin Impact fans felt attacked by that. But then again, you also had people who were into Wuthering Waves saying it's going to kill Genshin, and it's just bubbled over time. Now, of course, I've not seen too many Wuthering Waves fans talk shad. I've seen Genshin Impact players do it, like just completely trashing Wuthering Waves. Now, you got to remember, I like both. I play both. I'm behind in Genshin, that's for sure. And technically I'm not up to date in Wuthering Waves. I still have to finish the content in 2.0. But I did a video a good few months ago talking about which game I prefer. And in the end, I chose Wuthering Waves. I prefer the character designs more. I like the combat way more. I think that's one thing that Wuthering Waves definitely beats Genshin in is the combat. But like I said, I like a dark, foreboding world where even though the sun is shining and it looks beautiful, you can tell that underneath the surface, things are not so good. And a lot of the concept art and artwork that has been released for Wuthering Waves has this dark, overcast. And that's what I like. Where, Genshin mostly always has this bright, colorful look to it, and nothing wrong with that. I played Genshin when it first came out, and I loved it. I thought it was the greatest game ever because I could not believe there was a game. And this was my first, I had no idea really how gacha games worked or anything like that. All I knew is that this was a anime, like, very anime game, Breath of the Waifu when it first came out. That's what everyone called it. But it had this anime aesthetic, which I've always liked, but it had this huge map. It was open world. It has co-op in it, but it has a single player story like your classic Japanese RPGs. It has events, stuff like that, and it was all for free. You did not have to spend any money in the game if you did not want to. And that was amazing to me. This free to play and by choice single player RPG, I was blown away. Now, if for anyone that's been with the channel since the beginning, you know that when we started the channel, our internet was atrocious. Like, it took us all night to upload videos. And so when the very first big update for Genshin Impact came out, which was the mountain, the Dragon Spire or Dragon Spine Mountain, it would like get close to being finished, and then it would fail and start all over. And so I had to give up on Genshin until it came to the PlayStation 4 at that time. And then I started a new game on PlayStation 4, and just things got away from me. I've started yet another game on the PlayStation 5 version, and I'm further than I've ever been. I'm in Inazuma, and I enjoy Genshin Impact for what it is. I'm currently once again taking another break from it because 4 gacha games at the same time, that's a little much, because I'm also playing Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero, and of course Wuthering Waves. Now, I do like the two gacha games that I am like fully so focused in is Honkai Star Rail and Wuthering Waves. I got my open world in Wuthering Waves, and I've got my turn-based classic combat in Honkai Star Rail. Now, one of the biggest reasons why I prefer Wuthering Waves over Genshin is because I think the exploration is a bit better in Wuthering Waves. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's me. I'm not sure. But after Mondstadt, it just seems like the exploration in Genshin became a chore. Leeway, to me, was a grind to explore. Like, I didn't find all the Geooculuses or whatever they're called until like years had went by. Inazuma, like, maybe not as hard as Leeway was, but the amount of islands and all that, I was just like, man, I feel like it's never going to end. Because I'm the type of player who likes to fully explore, find all the items and stuff like that, and then continue the main story. I've only got a few of the electrolysis or whatever to find, and then it's on to the chasm, and then finally Sumeru, whenever I really dedicate a lot of time to it. Now, when Wuthering Waves was coming out, I almost did not play it, because I was like, I've already got Genshin, I don't really need another open world gacha game. But the design of Female Rover really grabbed me. Like, I just love her design. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And despite its rocky launch, I enjoyed the game. Like, I enjoyed the first part of the story very quickly. And then I just spent days exploring the map, doing the extra side things. And I think I have got every 5-star except 3 characters who I don't really want. And I have every 4-star released yet. Like, I just really love the character designs. The character designs are great. I know some people have fussed about the voice talent in it, and really there's a reason behind that, but the voice acting has definitely gotten better as far as 2.0 goes. And what I like about Wuthering Waves that I don't know why Genshin doesn't do is that the main character, Rover, talks a whole lot more than your standard gacha game protagonist. Now, of course, you've got Zenless Zone Zero, where Belle and Wise they are fully voiced. There's not many times where in story cutscenes where they don't talk. The Trailblazer in Honkai Star Rail, where mostly still kind of mute, here recently in the more recent updates is talking a lot more than they used to when the game first came out. So I don't know what the story is behind why why the Traveler doesn't talk a whole lot still, except in certain story cutscenes. But I wish Lumine and Aether would talk way more. I really do. But really, what started all this all of a sudden? It seemed like it quieted down until recently, and a content creator named, I believe, Cosmos put up a video on Twitter. I don't know if there's one on YouTube or anything like that, about Genshin players reacting to Wuthering Waves 2.0. And it's pretty much him playing Genshin, getting all excited about the new character and what she can do and stuff like that. And then he walks into a room. I guess it's his roommate, but I think it's also him playing both characters. I'm not familiar with his content, so I'm not sure. And he is playing 2.0, and it's showing all the stuff, like riding in the gondolas, being able to literally fly as any character over the map, the combat system, all that. And he's just like, well, Genshin's got this. Oh, yeah, well, we got this, and stuff like that. And it really seemed to set people off. Now, I don't think he meant it to be like an attack on Genshin. Because, there's that old saying, wow, Genshin could never. But I don't think he meant it as... I think it was all just supposed to be humorous. But then again, I do have a different kind of sense of humor, so, But of course, people felt attacked. There was Genshin fans who did not approve of it. They're like, why always bring up Genshin when talking about Wuthering Waves? Or there was one guy who brought up that, Hoyoverse don't care. They made 150 million, blah, 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 and all that. And it's like, well, of course, Genshin right now is going to make more money than Wuthering Waves. Wuthering Waves has not even been out for a year. Genshin Impact is an established game with an established player base. Like, I'm sorry, but bringing up how much Genshin makes over Wuthering Waves is like bringing up, I'll throw wrestling in here. It's like bringing up how many viewers WWE has over any other wrestling company when WWE has been around for decades. Like, yeah, they're going to have more money. They're going to have more eyes on them. Like, that's a no-brainer. That's really not a bragging point. And then, of course, you had someone else, not going to name their name, but they were a fairly recent account that was that does nothing but crap posts. I'm not going to say, on Wuthering Waves, saying it's going to enter end of service soon. It's not doing well. And like the sales numbers they were using was just based on American numbers. It didn't include China, Korea, Japan, where everywhere, like the entire world, Wuthering Waves had a great launch for 2.0. Like, amazing for a new game, especially, well, new, you know what I mean. Pretty much 2.0 was not only a new update, it was pretty much a relaunch of the game. It almost makes me want to start over another playthrough from the beginning on my separate account and see just how much better it plays starting from the beginning. And it started the whole debate again, Wuthering Waves combat versus Genshin Impact's combat, which I will admit, Genshin Impact's combat is very simple in a lot of ways. It's more based around using the elements to find weaknesses and all that, than where Wuthering Waves is more about parrying and dodging. And you have to admit that it does have flashier combat than Genshin Impact. Though Genshin has improved a lot. The ultimate attacks have went from just simple happening in real time to actually having like cutscenes for for the ultimates. So I was very happy seeing that happened with newer characters. But at the end of the day, I can't say too much because, like I said, I'm behind in Genshin. I'm more caught up in Wuthering Waves than Genshin. And even though I am really into Wuthering Waves right now, that does not mean I hate Genshin Impact. It is very possible to enjoy both. But you're always going to have those people who are going to stir up controversy and drama because it gets them clicks, it gets them money. I'm sure there's content creators all over the place who has made careers and a lot of money out of Genshin Impact. So of course, when a new game comes around that might steal a little bit of that spotlight, they're going to hate on it. They're going to cause drama. They're going to say the game's dying. It's going to end service and all that. Where others are just like, hey, I just wasn't feeling it with Genshin, but with this game, I really, really like it. And, it makes me wonder with future gacha games, like the one that used to be called Project Mugen, Anate or something like that. Is it going to go through the same thing? Because it's going to be open world as well. It's going to be more of like anime Grand Theft Auto from what it looks, but are we going to get the same thing with that? And Neverness to Everness or something like that, whenever that comes out, is it going to face the same backlash? Genshin will always be better. Now, one day all these games are going to end. The story will end. They'll still release characters, well, not new ones, reruns and all that. But it's one thing that Wuthering Waves has over Genshin. Genshin's been going for years now. Wuthering Waves is just starting. So, I am kind of interested to see when the main story of Genshin is over, if there will be any kind of drop-off. Now, of course, there is a lot of people who play gacha games who do not care about the main story. They care about pulling characters, and they care about building teams and doing character builds, which is fine, though, as an old-school RPG player, I don't see why you would play a game that has a lot of RPG elements in it and not care about the story or the character stories. But yes, I am wondering about that. Like, once Genshin's story ends, will there be much of a fall off? Will it still be there? Because there's always going to be people who are going to discover it and are going to be able to play the story from beginning to end in one sitting. But yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, the only thing that Wuthering Waves really had against it was its launch. It did not have a very good launch, but you gotta also remember, Kuro is more known for making games for mobile phones. There's Punishing Grey Raven is another game that they've made. That, from what I can tell, is also pretty popular as well. But this was their like a really big foray into making like a big PC game that would eventually become a console game. And they're building a lot of goodwill because despite the rough launch, they released a ton of free pulls for to say they were sorry. So they've earned the goodwill of the players, which really is something you really do need, especially in a game series like the gacha games, where it's technically gambling in a lot of ways. So you want people to enjoy your game enough to where you want to pull on characters, and if you miss out on that character or lose your 50-50, you might want to spend a little bit to try and get that character again. But to each their own. I'm guilty of it. I'm sure many others are guilty of it. Jess is guilty of it too. So it all happens to us when it comes to these games. Like, at the end of the day, like I said, I know there are going to be people who have chosen their game, who are going to defend it, and they're going to insult any other game that is like it and anyone that does like it, but I wish people would realize that they would make their lives a lot more simpler if, instead of jumping on the internet to find something to upset them about what somebody said about their favorite video game, and just enjoy both. Yeah, not everyone can play two open world gacha games at the same time. I'm insane for trying to do it. But that's really the best of both worlds. You either have what Genshin offers, or you have what Wuthering Waves offers, or you can play both at the same time and just play a little bit of each every once in a while. Now, eventually, I will get back into a Genshin mood, return to it, and hopefully clear the chasm and get to Sumeru, though I've heard Sumeru is very tedious to explore. But for right now, I'm going to finish Renacita. I'm going to finish the story of 2.0. and yeah, like, just see where the rest of the story goes. And that's another thing I'm looking forward to. What other areas of the world are going to look like? Because where Genshin has these regions that are definitely based off of cultures. Wuthering Waves technically has the same thing. Renacita is very Italian influenced. But you also have parts of the world that you can tell are remnants of the Lament, which was an end of the world catastrophe in the world of Wuthering Waves, that look very otherworldly. And there's still the story behind Rover and who they actually are, and what kind of life they had before the events of the game. Because it's very obvious Rover has existed for many, many thousands of years, it looks like. And I still think there are mysteries with the Traveler. Like, what is their full story? And we still need to find out why that god at the very beginning of the game singled them out. So, I mean, both games have still a ton of mystery in them. And that's why, with this video, I really just think enough is enough. Stop attacking each other just because you prefer one game over the other. You guys didn't work on the game. You don't have you may have an investment in it because you spent money in it, or you like the characters, you prefer the story, that's great. But acting like someone kicked your puppy because they said they don't like your game when you didn't work on it, you didn't work on the development team for it or anything like that. I just think enough is enough. Enjoy them. I really don't think Hoyoverse has a grudge against Kuro Games. And I don't think Kuro Games has a grudge against Hoyoverse. They more than likely want each other to do well. Because what are they in the business for? And that is to make games for players to enjoy. And of course, make money. That's the whole point. So, I don't think they see each other as competition. And I think they're both just happy that the other is successful. That's really at the end of the day. The developers, unless they full out state publicly that they don't like each other, they probably see their fandoms acting like this and just scratch their heads like, guys, why are you fighting? Just enjoy the games. But yes, at the end of the day, this little war between Genshin Impact's fandom and Wuthering Waves' fandom really needs to stop. And I really think that we need to just step back and stop taking everything so personal when it comes to people's opinion on whether they like your video game or not. There have been plenty of games that I have loved that other people have hated. There are plenty of games that others have loved that I personally hated. But that doesn't mean I go out and find them and insult them every chance I get. So, once again, if you're a Wuthering Waves player, leave Genshin Impact fans alone. If you're a Genshin Impact fan, leave Wuthering Wave fans alone, no matter what the other says. At the end of the day, it is some stranger on the internet who is not going to have any impact on your life whatsoever, so why would you give them a second thought just because they said something naughty about your favorite game and your favorite waifu in that game? So, that's somewhere I'm going to end today. Once again, guys, this is Cannan. Me and Jess love you all very, very much. Please, if you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting the notification bell, click that like button, leave a comment, all that good stuff. I'll be streaming on Monday because I'm off work. Please take care of yourselves. Stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.